Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for the first episode, Rev It Up. Tonight we have Brother T from the Noncompliance, Josh Moskowitz from the Session Brothers, Jim Gilbert from Nippertown, and practically every professional gig around here taking photographs, and Johnny Clifford from The Broken Hearted and long history of bands that he's been in. And we're going to start chatting. There we are. There's all our guys. Say hi to everybody. Hi,
Rock and roll.
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Guys, hi everyone.
we're gonna talk about what this episode's entitled "Then and Now." We're gonna talk about the beginning of your career, coming up to right now, and everything that's going on. So, our first question is going to be: do you remember when and what brought you to music? And I'll start at the top, Brother T, since you're.
Well, I can tell you, I remember all this stuff, you know. What brought me to music was actually Little League, of all things. When I was in Little League, I was probably about 6 or 7, and we all used to do like rhymes on the ball field in between games. They'd be perverted little rhymes, and I knew that I was liking it, and it turned out you'd still see it now.
Right.
But shortly after that, I met Henry McFerrin. I had on the strings there, and I didn't really know I was going to be playing guitar or even wanting to play guitar. But just hanging out there, I met everybody that came in, Scotty Mack, and all the players around here, really, really good dudes, and said, man, I could do this too. So I tried for a while, and I played my first show when I was like 13, I think. It was
13.
pretty cool. So, yeah. I can't remember where I played. I played at it was definitely a show that Henry hooked up. And, I've done shows outside at like houses, out of garages, all that kind of stuff. When you're young, you kind of be silly. I had a band called State of Emergency, of all names.
Mm-hmm.
And I sang and I played some really crappy guitar, but it worked at the time,
Well,
It
yeah.
was cool.
Yeah. What about
It was
you,
definitely-
Josh? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, T.
It was definitely cool, is what I'm saying. I don't want to hog the spotlight.
What year was that?
What year did I start playing?
Yeah. How many years ago?
I was 8 years old when I started playing guitar. So that would bring it to like 1983. Around that time is like when I met Henry and Sean and all those guys, and that kind of brought me into this world of music that I know now.
Right.
It's awesome. But you move on. We'll catch up with that later. I'm curious to see what everybody else has got to say.
Me too, Josh. What brought you to music?
For me, it was a family thing. I had growing up, my parents, my mother was really big into the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers.
Nice.
For about 15 straight years, my mom and I went to see the Allman Brothers every year at SPAC. That was like our thing when I was growing up. And my dad and my aunts and my uncles were also into Steely Dan and some of those more kind of progressive rock bands. And I just when I think back to my childhood, listening to those songs being played in the background was just the soundtrack to my childhood. So I think as soon as I was maybe 11 or 12 and could get my hands around a full-size guitar, I very much remember my first acoustic guitar and taking it down in the basement and banging out a full C chord for the very first time. And that was it. I was hooked. I hit that chord. This is what I want to do. I was really lucky a few years later to meet a really great guy. When we were in like junior high, my friend Tim Gorman and I kind of hooked up. Somebody else recruited both of us into their band in junior high. And we met with the band once. It was the first time Tim and I had ever met each other. And after we got done with the first jam session, everybody else left, and he and I went, okay, they all suck, and we're going to stick here, and we'll do this together. And he and I learned how to play together growing up. And 25 years later, he's still my bass player. I'm still his guitar player. We still do it up in the band.
Met him.
So,
I met him at one of your
so,
shows. Yeah,
yeah.
he's great. He's
That's
great.
awesome.
And just to go to show you how much of a family affair it is with us, it was actually when we were young, before we had any of our own gear, his dad was in a band, and we would go and pirate all his gear, and he'd come down and chase us out of the basement. As the years went by, now his dad actually plays in the Session Brothers with us. So, we've the three of us have been playing together for about 25 years now. So it's always been in the family for us.
That's very cool. Jim Gilbert, he's not a musician, but he knows a lot of musicians, especially famous ones. Rock photographer.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So I always loved music. I wasn't really from a big musical family, even though all my kids and stepkids play and Laura plays, my partner. But I loved music, and when I was a kid, I was just a troublemaker. I was ADHD. I was like a smart kid, but I had ants in my pants. These fellows hyperactive. So they threw a camera at me when I was like 12. And I got to work in a dark room. I got to shoot and actually develop film. So I've been shooting for, 36 years or so.
Wow.
Probably 35, 36 years. And then with music, in the 90s when I was in college, I shot, bands that were kind of starting out. Some band from Vermont called Fish. Yeah, don't look them up. They're not that good. But they're good. Their fans just aren't. But no, and then really what got me back into it in my second life was I got divorced and I needed to do something. And so I was able to combine, music and photography. And yeah, I've just been lucky enough to kind of shoot everybody over the years.
Yeah, I want to grow up to be you.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And it's been more than rock. It's been everybody, country, blues.
Yeah,
jazz.
you cover a lot. Yeah, and now Nippertown, taking over that and New York State music when you started that. So you're really immersed in music as much as the photography now, right?
Yeah, it all kind of goes together. You need the musicians. You need to support local bands. I get so frustrated when people say there's nothing going on around here because there's so much talent. There's so much talent. If I could bitch slap people for saying that, I would. But, on any given night, I mean, you can talk to like Laura, and every night we look and go, man, do we go here? Do we go there? Do we go, and it's Tuesday, there's 4 shows I want to go see, and it's a Tuesday.
And I have that same problem every week when there's live shows going on. What do I go? Who do I go support this week? I can only pick 1 or 2. Johnny Clifford.
First,
what brought you to music?
A D and an F chord. Both of those. I actually made up my own versions of those because I couldn't do them in the standard. And it was literally, I don't know, my memory tells me it was a matter of at least a year before I could actually play those chords the way you're supposed to. But anyway, I thought that's funny. And it's funny, I'm hearing a common theme here because, my dad was a fabulous piano player. He was a jazz pianist. He was extremely talented. Like one of those people that you're just, it's mind blowing, I'm nothing like him as far as musicianship goes, but that's where it all seems to start, right? When you're little kids and you're around people and your influences, and it's obviously going to rub off on you. And then I also saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I'm old enough for that. And Johnny Lennon with that Rickenbacker. That was pretty much the end of it. But I didn't learn until I was 12. And then I taught myself. I bought Alfred's Basic Guitar Method, Book 1. and I studied the chord chart in the back, and I learned how to play the guitar that way and listen to records and whatnot. But it really didn't come together until I met a young kid in my neighborhood by the name of Phil Camp. He was about maybe 12 or 13, and I was 14 or 15. And we started getting together and playing guitars. And there was a definite synergy there. We worked off each other, and we practiced a lot. We played songs and all the Doobie Brothers and, like, you know, God, I can't remember, Bachman Turner Overdrive and all that stuff. And I think that was kind of what spearheaded everything for me. Was you know, it dawned on me, like I think Brother said, like, I can play this, I can do this. It's
Right.
like, wow, I can actually do this. Are you kidding? You know, like I can like play in a band. And eventually we did put Panache together, and we did okay. Hey, Phil just chimed in.
Yeah. Did I tell you the
but
story
there's no
about Phil and
doubt
I
about it.
being in the same guitar class when we were like 8 or 9 years old? We had the same teacher and same Saturday
I did
afternoon
not know
guitar.
that, no.
Yes, my parents sent me because I was, you know, always hanging around the house being miserable. At 7 or 8 years old, my mother bought me a acoustic guitar from Sears, and she sent me to the Fort Edward Arts Center on Saturday afternoons, or was it a morning? Phil will remind me. And to play, Lucille Tasker was the name of the teacher. And she had this massive beehive hairdo. That's what I remember the most about her. And Phil was a little redheaded boy in my
Cool.
class. So
That
I've
sounds great.
actually known Phil a couple of years longer than you. How about that? So we didn't know who each other was, and I didn't remember it until I brought up he brought up Lucille Tasker's name during another interview I did with Luke Garrett and him. And I said, "Hey, I was in that class with you. Which person were you?" Because the class wasn't big. And he's like, "Were you the acoustic girl or the electric girl?" And I said, "I was the acoustic girl." He says, you know. So yeah, I was in the same class as Phil Camp. Didn't keep it up, but you know, I enjoyed music as a child, which eventually steered me back into music later on. But anyway, that's my story. That was a long time ago, Phil. You're absolutely right. He's commenting. So the next question was the first professional show. T, you've already said something about your first show, but what first professional show where you got paid? When do you think that was? And who were you playing with?
I think it was acoustic shows. I used to do a lot of acoustic Brother T shows. I used to play at places like Mother's Cafe back in the day, and I do my
Lake
silly
George?
song. Does anybody remember that place?
Oh yeah, we all
Yes.
remember Mothers. We're of a
Mother's
certain age.
Cafe. Mother's Cafe was a little tea shop on what was that, Pearl Street?
Oh,
Or no, that was
down the
Quail,
one in
right?
Albany.
Okay.
Yeah, it was over on Quail.
Quail
Yeah.
and Madison or something.
'Cause
So
Yeah.
this guy was cool, you know. He'd let bands come in and play, you know. He'd play for tip jar, you know, and that was probably the first paid gig I had with the tip jar. But
Do you remember,
remember-
what year? Do you remember what year?
I don't really remember the year. Probably I would say that had to be the 90s, maybe like 90, 93, 94, somewhere in there. Probably
I was
about seven.
I was going to say I was
17,
already gone from Quail Street by then.
Yeah,
I used
17,
to live
18.
down there.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to be the DJ at LP's on the corner of Western and Quail. You're probably too young to remember it, but
I
lived
remember
there.
that one. I know that Max Trax wasn't too far away, you know.
Mhm.
Down the street there they had that. And
Do you remember Sabatino's liquor store?
no,
It was right. It was on the same corner as that one, anyway.
I don't maybe I sort of remember a liquor store being over there, somewhere over there, and there was a bar.
So your professional gig was a acoustic solo gig?
It was an acoustic solo gig with me, with the songs from writing them at the music shop, you know, and I still play some of those songs today, but I still write continuously. I like being in a band atmosphere more a little bit, you know. But doing solo stuff is fun too, and you just can't get enough exposure on yourself and your musical career, what you're trying to do, and get out there. You know,
There's also safety in numbers.
well, there's safety in numbers, but you know, nobody ever messes with me. I'm big, you know, but you know, but anyway, I'm not gonna hurt no one anyway. I love everybody. I try to anyway.
I know you do. What about you, Josh? First professional gig, paying gig. Oh, I lost your mic. You lost your mic because I don't have control of it.
Yep, that was me. I'm sorry. I was trying
That's
not to let my dogs talk over anybody else.
That's okay. Let them talk away.
I was trying to remember it. It seemed like it was so long ago, but I think probably 1994, my first paid gig. And it was definitely, you know, as much as we all work under the table, when I started, I was even more under the table because I was probably 14 when I did my first gig. It was at Bogey's in Albany, and we had me carry in the bass drum through the back door. If anybody remembers, you could go in the back door.
Yep.
Oh man!
And they had me carrying a bass drum so they couldn't see me, and then they just shoved me into that really foul-smelling little room in the back. And I wasn't allowed to come out until it was time to go on stage, because once I was on stage, what were they going to do? You know.
Right.
But I think that was my first official paid gig, was 1994 at Bogey's.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I remember Bogies. That was pretty fun, man. I went there a bunch of times with Camp Stay.
They had a lot of great shows there in the back in the day.
I really think I was in that like 1993 to maybe 98, 99, 2000 era where, you know, if you played in a local band, you kind of did that circuit where you did Bogies, you did Valentine's, you did Saratoga Winners. You know, these were some great clubs that were around, and the bands just kind of, you know, every weekend you played a different one of those spots.
Yeah. Jimmy, first professional paid gig.
Probably Gore. I did some promotional shots for Gore, and that was when Dave was still around. Brocky was still around.
Yeah, Brocky was still around.
They had a new guitarist, and they needed promo shots of him, and so I got hired for that. And it was cool. Story on that is everything about a Gore show is choreographed. So, you know, sitting backstage with the guys before the show in the green room, they outlined everything. So I knew every time they were going to spray the cannons, the fake blood, everything. So I wasn't, you know, I didn't wear like the raincoats and everything with all this expensive camera gear. I just followed their choreograph. It was choreographed to a T. And the funny story is, there was a few younger photographers outside waiting to go into the photo pit with me and stuff. And I was like, you guys want to hold off for a little while because you're going to get soaked if you go in now. All the young ones listened, but this one like middle-aged woman was like, I can go in now. And she went in, and like 5 seconds later, she came out just drenched with red fake blood, right?
Yep.
And she looked at me and like, you know, I never could get a woman to listen to me. So that was
story of my life.
But yeah, so my first paid gig was Gore, and it was pretty cool to see those shots and to work for them. Yeah.
Wow. How is anything as interesting as that ever?
Well, that one, you know, the problem with being in the photo pit is you don't get to it's quite an experience, but you don't get to hear the music. It's so rush for those 3 songs or whatever.
Yeah.
That you're not really paying attention. So, I mean, you're paying attention to the light and angles, but you're not paying attention to the music or anything. So there's been a lot of things that since then. Fire on stage, being on stage with some musicians where they have pyro, and if you step in the wrong spot, you can, and it's hot as hell. I don't know if you guys are all musicians. Have you ever been on stage with pyro?
I have.
Yes.
Right.
Smoke machines is all I had.
Bandmates get exploded.
It's unbelievable how hot it is on stage, and I'm like, and these guys, like drummers, are just surrounded by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for going back to Josh for a second. Josh, a viewer is asking, what band was it that you played at Bogies with for that first gig? What was
Oh,
the name of
back
the band?
then, that was a band called Swollen.
Swollen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Bands that played at Bogies had the best names ever.
That's true. That's true.
We were
What-
driving by Bogies the other day, Laura and I, just probably like 2-3 days ago, and I was like, nobody's picked it up. I said it would take so much work to get that place going again, but man, in the 80s, I mean, people like Ben Folds played there.
Oh yeah.
Or
The
90s,
history,
I
yeah.
guess. 90s he played, but so many names went through, and then everybody in the metal scene, everyone in the metal scene played.
Yep.
When you did your photography stuff for Guar, was that at Winners?
I think that was at Upstate, actually, or whatever it was at the
Northern
time.
Lights.
Northern Lights.
What year?
Yeah.
You didn't say what year either.
That was in my second resurgence, so that was about 10 years ago.
Nice.
I went to a Gore show last year just for the experience.
Was Volturo there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some cool shots of her, too.
Yeah. And that was just, I spent most of the night ducking behind a taller gentleman to avoid the splash. Because I did not want that stuff on my clothes. And I was warned, but I didn't realize how much they splash.
It's not as bad as Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, I know. I've avoided them.
Oh
I've been
my
asked
God,
to go to
that's
so
ridiculous.
many ICP shows, and I will not go. I do not want to get involved in the Fago thing. No way.
That stuff's sticky.
Yeah. Johnny, first professional gig where you got paid.
Well, that was with my first band, Panache, that Phil was in, and Dave Nichols and Mike Howe was in that band.
Mike was in
temporarily.
Panache?
He sang.
I did
He was our
not.
first
Well, I know he
singer.
can sing, but I did
Yeah.
not know that he was in
None
Panache
of
and
us
sang.
sang.
Oh,
None of
wow.
us did.
I love
Oh,
Johnny.
we
Johnny, I
always-
love your voice. When did you
All
start
you care
singing?
about is playing guitar. You're not really thinking about, we'll just get a singer. Like it's easy, right?
Did you hear what Jimmy just
But,
asked
yeah,
you?
we had Mike sing for us, and it was at the Hudson Falls High School.
Oh, wow.
It was a
Really?
first paid show. Oddly, I think we each made about $80, which is not a long ways from.
We're thinking now.
I mean, it might have been $8. I mean, it was a very long time ago. But yeah,
Johnny,
we
when
got
did you
up on
start
the
singing?
Stage there, we got to play loud, like a live real band, and there were people there, and it was quite a head rush. And it's not something you really, until you do it, you really don't realize what that can do to you. And it was, and yeah, he was.
Phil, you should be here too.
I don't want to get into that discussion with you, Phil.
I should have had Phil on same time as
But
you.
that was so much fun. It was so cool because it was really a little scary. I mean, you've never really been on stage before, and those are real people out there, and you're kind of confident, but not really.
Right.
Until you do it, you're not. And even after that, you're like blown away with, oh my God, I can't wait to do that again. And oh my God, I was so freaking scared. And, that's kind of part of it. But yeah, that was it. It was late 70s.
When did you start
A long time.
singing? When did you pick up singing as part of your gig?
Singing? Well,
Singing.
We had, I remember jamming a lot. It was Dave, our drummer, Dave Nichols' parents' house had a big room in the back, and we would go out there and we could rehearse back there. And we were going over songs, and the song was Honky Tonk Women, and there was no one, it was just me, Dave, Phil, and Jeff Hamilton, our first bass player, or second, I can't remember. Maybe it was Rob, I don't know. And we were probably getting ready for a gig because we were starting to think we got to figure out how we're going to do vocals. Who's going to sing anything? So I just sang Honky Tonk Women, and everybody was like, okay, you got to sing. And Phil was singing as well. But I don't think we had a plan. Phil maybe could refresh my memory, but I don't remember us really having a real solid plan about vocals.
Right.
But I sang Honky Tonk Women, and then, we all just sort of decided, okay, let's just pick songs. But I remember specifically that the first gig, though, that Mike and another guy, Brad, I think we had 2 singers.
Ooh.
And they sang everything. I don't think I sang anything that night. But it took a while to get us going. By the time we started playing out, doing real gigs, we were down to 4 people. And that kind of became the shell for a while.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I
wish I could hear you.
You can't hear me? You need to turn your volume
it's still
up?
breaking up. That's all right. We're good.
The question is on the screen, Johnny. We'll go backwards. We'll go back to you now. Juggling life and music. Did you ever try being a full-time musician?
Oh, yeah. You're talking to me?
Yes. What
Yes,
year did
absolutely.
when did that happen? What stage in your career did you try that?
Pretty early. Let's see, when did the band houses start? That was that was 80, 81.
Sky Harbor
Yeah,
days? That's when I used to
we
see
all
you.
moved. Wasn't it? Who?
Sky Harbor days or Rock and Rye. That's where I used to see you guys back in the day. I used to see you either at Rock and Rye in Lake George or
Rock
Sky
and
Harbor.
Rye was the first real bar that we played.
Right.
We played a Wednesday night freebie for them because we were so cocky confident that we would be able to do it that we said, we told the bar owner that we would just come in and play, and we got all our friends to come. We borrowed PA from other bands, even though we didn't hook it up, and we stacked it up like Woodstock, and we made a big spectacle out of it.
I just remember
that was
Phil.
right about then was when we started trying to be a full-time band, and it was hard because there was no money, and it was like very difficult getting into the biz. It's like now. It's even like now. If you're not a known commodity and you call up a club or somebody and you don't have anybody to vouch for you, it's a very hard thing to crack into the market.
Oh yeah.
And it was then too. But we were able to do it. We had enough support locally, and we pulled it off. But it was not easy, and we were poor.
Yeah.
Very
So how long of a shot did you give it? Was it short, or did you
Most
try it
of
for
my
a long
life.
time? Most of your life.
On and off.
Okay.
I really tried. I really did. It was begrudgingly. It wasn't. My dad had a business that we sold car batteries, and I worked at that for 2 stints, pretty much full time for close to 20 years. And then I moved to New York City in the late 90s, and then from there on in, it was pretty much music was a side thing.
Right. Jim? Full-time professional photographer and nothing else. Did you ever do that?
No, I'm a computer geek by day, and I have the kids. So, and I've had kids. My oldest is 23. So, no, I always had the day job. It's always been like a really cool hobby.
Yeah. It's a great hobby.
Yeah, I get to bring my family out to shows, and Laura and we go to a lot of shows together, and it's good. But yeah, no, I got into it after I had kids, so I would love it. I mean, I would have loved it, but you can't do it up here.
Do you think you would have done it without kids, and so you could when you could travel? Do you think that you would have tried to do it?
Maybe for a while, I kind of like trying new things. You couldn't do it up here. You'd have to live in New York. To shoot full time for Rolling Stone or anybody like that who actually might pay you a decent enough salary to live, you have to be out of New York. And even those photographers now, there's just nobody that's full time concert music photographer. Very few.
Right.
You're on tour with the bands. You're not getting paid much.
Nope. Nope. Josh, ever try to do it full time?
A couple of times throughout my lifetime. Definitely right out of school. My background was actually in theater before I got into playing guitar. So I started doing that when I was in school. My senior year of high school, I actually did a program called the New York State Theater Institute. So I went there for my senior year of high school, and I was working in sound engineering. And I got an internship when I graduated from there. I got an internship to Juilliard. And about a month and a half before I was supposed to be in the city for my first day at Juilliard, my current band decided that we were really going to make a go of it and try and do this full time and look for our record deal. And so I remember like picking up the phone and calling my mom and being like, "Mom, I'm not going to Juilliard." And like, I'm pretty sure I heard a piece of her soul die at that very moment. But I said, to heck with Juilliard, and I went and I wanted to be a rock star. And, I did that for a couple of months, maybe a year or two. And it was fun and it was great, but I was dirt poor and really struggling. And so it just became easier to have a job and do that on the side. So I think that's where I kind of went back to and just have stuck with that the rest of my life and my career.
And just so people know, your day job now is Red Cross.
Yeah, I work for the Red Cross. I'm a senior disaster program manager for Eastern New York.
Nice.
So my life is very busy. It's pretty busy, especially right now. I actually just last year ran into the first ever instance where I had to cancel a gig because I was deployed on a national disaster. And that was a really horrible feeling for me. I've always been able to make it work, but sometimes life gets in the way and we got to do other things, but we do what we can.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for your service, man.
Yeah. That's great.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much.
That's all about,
So T, did you ever try to be a full-time musician, or have you always had a day job?
Yeah, I tried it pretty much right out of high school. I was about 18, probably around 94 or so. I had a band called the Leotards, and we played a bunch of shows around town here. We played New York City, went on a road trip trying to be famous and being obnoxious in every town. We're lucky we didn't get arrested and thrown in jail. Nowadays we would have for sure. But it was a struggle, You're on the road, you're poor.
Yeah.
It was a pretty short stint, probably about 6 to 8 months we did it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're eating out of cans on the road. Your band breaks down. You use your money from what you made at the last 2 gigs to try to get it fixed. And you're stranded and sometimes in the middle of nowhere, and you're sleeping in a band with 2 other dudes, and they stink. And they're hanging out with these dirty girls, so they smell like them. And
wow.
I'm happy I drove most of the time. I just kept the window down and just kind of yelled at them. But it was what we were all about back then. We were being obnoxious, wearing bras and stuff on stage, and
Wow.
being kind of shocking. Always comedy based. That's been most of my musical life has been comedy based. And
you did a Leotard song for me the other day when you were on my show. It was
Right.
very funny. Very funny.
You
That
know,
whole
and
show was funny.
well, that was a good time too. You know, I just, I miss playing with those guys a lot. We did a lot of stuff. You know, I still hang out with Tim McIntosh. He rents off of me still, and that's all he ever wants to talk about is bringing back the leotards. And we really want to do it, but is there anybody that's gonna actually play drums with us now? You know, I'm not gonna be obnoxious and wear bras and pull my pants down anymore. It's the shock time is over. You'll be having, these podcasts from Brother T in prison, It might be entertaining, but I don't think it'll go over that well. But
Josh, what are you drinking?
What am I drinking? I'm drinking. So we were talking about Troy, right?
Yeah.
So Troy's Own Brown Brewing Cherry Raz, man.
Well, the
that's
question
one of my favorites.
that
Killer.
question was from Ralph Renna, so he'll be happy to hear that.
Just for you, Ralph.
Hey, I'm looking for somebody to write about craft beers for Nippertown.
Ooh.
Nice.
So
No,
if
you
anybody
just-
wants to evaluate local craft beer and write about it.
Let's talk, brother.
Yeah, there you go. Here's one for. Oh, hang on. There's a question. Ralph saying you representing. Not to put you guys on the spot, but in the 518, or actually anywhere in the world that you've played or worked, in Jim's case, favorite venue? Start with Brother T.
Venues are a tough thing. I like a lot of them. Winners was definitely one of my favorites. CBGB's, and we played Whiskey A Go Go. I returned there. I forgot how cool it was in October when we went out there. That's a really cool place. So I really can't put it down. But locally, my favorite venue for the longest time was the QE2. It always had that awesome vibe, Valentine's was awesome, but it just didn't have the same feel as the Q for me anyway. But
Right.
I'd say QE2 locally, maybe nationally, playing these small bars. I like the dive bars the best. Everybody's like, oh, I like these big stages and all the people. I like it to be small and quaint. I know it's just me, but
No, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that feel that way. I've talked to over the years that enjoy playing the intimate little.
yeah,
bars.
it's playing upstate is always a good time. It's always a good time playing there, and half the time the sound is good, half the time it's a little off. Chrome is a cool place to play as well. But like I said, like even now the low beat, I like it there. It's fun. You don't get a crazy crowd like some of the bigger places. For whatever reason nowadays, I like a smaller crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my preference.
That's just a thing when we get a little older. We just we aren't looking for the huge crowds anymore.
When I was like
I
20
think.
years old.
Yeah,
20
you
years
wanted to be in the
old out
middle
there.
of it.
Yeah, it's cool though. But I'll pass along the questions so I'm not hogging up the time. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna make myself another drink here,
We got
and then I'll be
another-
right back.
Okay,
What?
well we got plenty of time. But yeah, okay. Get yourself a drink.
All right. Yeah, I just don't want to feel like the camera hog here. I could go on for days with all this stuff.
Well, we'll have to try that
I
one.
love hearing your stories, brother.
Yeah, Brother T,
Thanks,
you
man.
got great
Thank
stories.
you so much. Thank you so much. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a
Get
drink
another
here.
beer. Yeah.
And
Nice and cold
I'm
one.
drinking. I hardly been drinking lately, but I fell in love with the stouts again, and they're low alcohol stuff. So two of them, I'm like good to go nowadays. Like get me back in like December, I would have needed like a whole bottle of vodka, and like halfway through it, I'd be done.
Mhm.
But But be
Okay.
proud of me. I'm not drinking so much anymore.
I
That's a
am
good
proud of you. I am proud of you. I remember that night we were teetotal at Upstate Concert Hall, you and me, when we went to see Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I was completely sober,
Completely
right?
sober. Yep. So you
Yeah.
and me. Yep.
That was awesome.
So go get your drink. I'm going to talk to Josh now.
You got it. I'll be right back.
So Josh, do you have a favorite venue?
I don't know that I have a favorite. I definitely think kind of that reoccurring thing that I think that a couple of us have talked about is Saratoga Winters.
Yeah.
What a neat place that was to play.
Mhm.
I distinctly remember the first time I ever played there, walking in and getting up on stage, and it was in the wintertime, and I'm sure you all remember in the wintertime they would put those like big jet engine kerosene heaters in there to heat the place up. So you're kind of like
Oh, yeah.
choking back fumes during your sound check, and the whole place was just drafty and cold and it smelled, but it was amazing. And I remember getting up on stage and there being like house PA and house lighting, and like that was, I remember being like 15 years old playing there and being like, oh, we've made it. Like that was the peak of our experience at that point. But years later, I actually, it wasn't until about 5 or 10 years ago now that I kind of gravitated a little more towards acoustic music. And for the first time in my life, I really dug into roots music and Americana. And I met up with a guy, and we had a little duo, and it was a trio at some points. But we found a home at this little restaurant in Schenectady called Cafe Nola, and we would play there a lot.
Yes.
We would play there about twice a month, and we played there for about 3 years straight.
I remember Herb Carter was playing
Yeah.
there, and you guys were there too, all the time.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I met Herb there.
Yeah,
So
and then he told me about you.
Yep, that was how Herb and I met, and we became buddies. And there was just this great couple that ran the place, and they were so supportive of local music, and they were just really amazing to work with. And so there wasn't anything special. It was just a little restaurant. It was good food, but it was one of those places where when we were playing there on a Saturday night, I'd walk in the door with my guitar in my hands, and like 3 different bartenders and waitresses would turn around and say, "Hey, Josh, how's it going?" And I'd start setting up, and they'd bring me my favorite beer, and it was just like it was that warmth and that love from them. So I have to go back to Cafe Nola was my favorite place. Unfortunately, they did have to close the restaurant a few years ago because they just ran into some really tough times. But I will be forever eternally grateful to those folks at Cafe Nola.
Yeah, that was a cool place. Jimmy, did you have a favorite place to shoot?
I have a lot of favorite places to
Like
shoot.
Madison Square Garden, or
I have shot there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm gonna say locally. It's hard because it depends on how big of a crowd, right? Like, there's places I want to watch a show, like Cock and Bull or Cafe Lena. Like that's where I want to watch a show, right? Because it's intimate. You kind of get that feel of whoever. But I'll say my favorite place to shoot or my favorite place to go is probably, and I'm not dissing anybody else, but is probably Palace. Something about the Palace that just majestic. First of all, the staff there are top notch. They're great to work with. They're kind. It's like you go into these venues all the time, and it's almost like a little family. You see them, and that's one of the things I'm missing about SPAC this year is that first show we come back for SPAC. All the ushers and security, we all give each other hugs, and it's like, hey, how was your winter? And I've been missing that this year with Corona. But if I had to pick a favorite venue right at the moment, it'd be House Theater.
Great.
Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit, just so you know. I've heard most of it, but yeah, you're breaking up just a touch. Johnny Clifford, favorite venue? Please say Sky Harbor.
I'm going to assume you're talking to me because you mentioned the Sky Harbor.
I am. Jim?
I have having my connection is terrible.
Okay.
But if you can hear me, that's good. We good? My turn?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, Sky Harbor, yes, of course, that was definitely a great place. But it's kind of been. I've been very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. A lot of times, I never got to play Saratoga Winters until the very, very, very end of the place's run, and that was just a quick thing, and it really wasn't. I think we actually warmed up for E.B. Jebb, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. We didn't play a lot down this way. We were primarily Glens Falls, Vermont, and Western New York. But the Glens Falls clubs that we had, that Stephanie could attest, are the Sky Harbor, George's on Quaker Road, the Glen Lake Casino. A lot of good times.
Yep. A lot of good bands passed through there.
George's upstairs.
Upstairs and
downstairs,
yep.
Which was, I don't know if any of you guys ever, heard about that place, but it was a very big club, but it had a little intimate bar downstairs. That was definitely an awesome place. But then after that, I got to play at Sandy's for almost 10 years as part of their house band. And then last year I got to play Rockin' on the River. So I don't really know what can I tell you? I never met a stage I didn't like. And as long as the crowd is into it, Rustic Barn and Dinosaur are a blast down here. I hope I don't leave anybody out. Molly's, it's really cool. The local scene down here has embraced me big time, and I'm so grateful to them and all of the with Nipper Town and all of the local press has been so good about promoting music and standing by each other. It's really quite a community. I'm lucky to have been brought into it. Overall, though, what was my favorite bar? Wow, that's a tough one. That's a tough. Rock and Rye, I guess.
Rock and Rye was good
because I didn't know that we'd ever get to play there.
It's the only place that let me in underage.
The big timers played there. That was where the big timers played.
Yeah, and I used to get in there at 16 years old and got to see all you guys. It was fabulous. It was the only place that would let me in.
I got a gallery when I was 15.
I can't believe that's possible, but
I didn't even have my driver's license then.
It, you wouldn't lie, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I would just smooch up to the guy at the door and with my cute girlfriends, and we'd just yeah, we're 18, and go on, girls. Go ahead. You gotta have girls in the room. You gotta have girls in the room. And Phil was 15. Phil Camp was 15 when he played there the first gig.
Phil was a young fellow.
Yeah, he's the same age as me.
He had a big beard, though. He had a righteous beard.
He looked older. Yeah, he looked older than he was at that time. He definitely
did.
He did. Yeah,
that was a plan.
He definitely did. Okay, and I think this is probably going to be close to the last question, unless we have something from the audience. How has the New York State shutdown over COVID-19 directly affected your music? Let's go with T.
Well, it's canceled a few shows that we had booked up. One was at Low Beat that I was really looking forward to it. With Society High and all those guys. But hopefully we'll be able to do that again. It's just Brother T with an acoustic now. Non-compliance is taking a little backseat for a little bit. I don't know what's up with that. Mm-hmm. But we'll get back to that some other day. But,
yeah, you can't keep a good punk band down.
No, but it's, it is what it is. You got to roll with the punches, in any band. And, it's like having another relationship, It's a tough thing sometimes. But
it is a relationship. Every band person I've ever talked to says that it's like having a second family that you have to take care of.
It is. And
everybody has said that to me.
It really is. It really is.
So not only do you have to take care of the family you do have, you have to take care of the band family as well.
Yeah, and it's hard to juggle both, you know. That's the main thing that made me so I couldn't be on the road was the family came along too, you know what I mean? That's another thing that killed all me being out there doing it like full time. Would I do it full time in my age now? No, but going back to the COVID-19 thing, it's driving me crazy. It's driving me nuts. I think it's driving all of us nuts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The only time we can play out is through our phone or through the computer, and we can have virtual parties. Like we're having a party right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a connection. I mean, the whole point of me doing it, I mean, I don't need to do this when I'm doing it. I'm doing it to keep all of us connected to each other, because if this goes on for many more months, we're going to end up, things are going to start breaking away that we're not going to get back. So,
I agree with you.
So we have to keep connected. That's why I keep doing this.
I agree with, and I appreciate you doing this, and you're doing an awesome job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe not everybody will tell you. I'll tell you.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do appreciate what I do, and I do get a lot of nice, commentary and messages from people. I appreciate all of that.
It's what it's all about, and
yeah. But it's the idea is that we, being separated or whatever, we really need to be connected this way or some way. Even if you pick up the phone and call your bandmate and say, hey, wave out the window and I'll wave out the window, something, your neighbor, something, so that you're connected to humans. The sitting in a room looking at four walls doesn't cut it.
No, it doesn't. I've been very lucky, that I got a pretty good circle that's close to me, that we go out for walks. We've been going out for walks, like me and my friend Sarah and Kim Roberts and a couple other people. We get together, we go out for a walk, like on the bike path. I go for an awesome 3-mile walk from my house. I walk over the Dinosaur Barbecue so I could wave in the window. The doors are wide open. Nobody's in there to wave back, but I have been seeing these interesting Nate stickers everywhere that I don't know where they came from.
Where did they come from?
I don't know. We'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
But
so what are you doing to keep yourself sane besides the walking and the occasional acoustic online show? What are you doing to
keep sane?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, but I'm a pretty avid fisherman. I really dig getting out there to the lakes and to the rivers, and you know what? There's no COVID there because there's nobody else there. I'm pretty much alone, out there. And I go out with friends on the boats and stuff, but now they put an end to the boats. Even though a couple of weeks ago I was telling you I fell in the water.
Yeah, you did tell me.
That was kind of funny. It's another funny story for another time, but it is what it is, but the thing with the mask, I don't like the idea of it, but I know it's for safety. Mm-hmm. And it helps us as like a whole, because there's a lot of ugly people in this world. and when they put that mask on, it's saving us all, it's saving us all. So how about after this, you ugly people, just keep the mask on. It's just what it is.
Are you gonna let us know which of us is ugly and which of us can be without masks?
Listen, the 5 of us on the screen, well, I won't include myself. The 4 other people besides me, you guys don't wear the mask because you're pretty people. You're my
Thank
friends,
you.
and I, if it's, I'm talking about, I go out a lot. I drive a school bus, for a job, and I haven't been at work in a while, but I see some pretty scary people, especially like down on First Street in Troy, going to the south end there.
Mm-hmm.
You see some pretty interesting folks, but I wish I could hand the masks out personally, but I really don't want them that close to me because they might stink.
Okay.
There we go.
I see how it's affecting you, this COVID-19 thing.
It's getting in my psyche. I'm writing songs that are pretty silly, and I'm not really writing a song about wearing a mask or anything, but it's making me more creative being at home and stuck here with the guitars like I was like when I was 18 and in my room playing all the time. I feel like that again.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Josh.
Awesome.
Josh, how's the shutdown affecting you? Although because you're with the Red Cross, it's not. I mean, you've got more than enough work to do, so you're not really stuck at home like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It really has affected me though, because I actually had I just got serious into solo work over the last year or so, and I had over the past bunch of years, every year, kind of taken a little. And Brother T, you and I are same page, man. Let's get together and go fishing sometime.
We will, brother. Definitely.
I'm an avid fisherman, and every year I go down to the Florida Keys and I spend a couple of days fishing down there. And while I'm down there,
I love it.
I always see guitar players down there, and I'm like, damn, I could do that, you know? So actually this year I booked a 2-week tour of the Keys, and I was working my way from Key Largo all the way out to Key West over a 2-week span.
I saw that on your page. That was awesome.
And my first gig was right at like mid-March. So I actually got in the car and knew it was a crapshoot. And I drove me and all my gear down to Key Largo, and I pulled onto Key Largo, and my first gig of that night canceled. And then over the next 24 hours, every gig that I had for the next 2 weeks canceled. So I had to like tuck my tail between my legs and drive back up to New York amidst all of this craziness. But to be honest with you, obviously my work has been absolutely nuts for the last month. We're just kind of crazy, but I think the biggest kind of negative effect that this has had on me is I miss my brothers. I miss my band. I miss that cohesion. We talk and we chat and we stream to each other, but it's not the same as being in the same room as my drummer and my bass player and my keyboard players and being able to see each other and connect musically and make that connection with each other. I think that's something that it's really special, that connection that musicians share with each other, and in the song and in the music we can connect with each other and we can do something and we can feel something that you can't do well, each of us is in each other's house, and it's just not possible. On the flip side of that, though, I mean, this has definitely brought me, me and Brother T are going to go fishing now, and that's something that never would have happened. And I've met some really amazing people. I've got my new friend Jennifer Rumgay. Her and her husband live up the street from me, and I was doing one of my live stream acoustic shows out of my garage, and they were walking down the street and hung out in the driveway and just watched. And so, it definitely has brought some new connections that maybe I wouldn't have had otherwise, but I miss my brothers.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I miss all my friends, all my brothers, and I miss hugs a lot. And
you're the hugger. You're the number one F518 hugger. I know that.
I miss all the laughs. I miss even the people pulling out my nipples. I even miss that.
Yeah.
I miss all that stuff that's fun and funny, and I just miss everybody.
Are you sure it isn't you pulling other people's nipples that you don't miss?
Listen, it's a little bit of a war, okay? When this all started, this started like with me back when I was hanging out with Lucky the Elf. He was the very beginning of the leotards, and he was the one that came up with the Mad Sacker and all this other stuff. We'll talk about that some other time. We don't want to get too vile on your show, but
it's no worse than watching you in person.
I know, but the nipple grabbing thing was way back. I think it started like in 93 or something. These dudes started pulling my nips, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? You know, and
Yeah, so then you started pulling them back, and you've been doing it ever since.
And it's been a war. It's like a war. It's only between the guys, though. You know, girls, you caress girls' nipples. You know, guys, you're rough. You know, we're rough boys. You know, it's all right. It's what it's all about. You know, and it is about laughing. It is about having a good time. Sometimes these dudes don't get it, and they're like all macho and stuff. I'm like, put down your macho face and put on a silly one, dude.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And they do, and you know, then the next time you see them, they're pulling their own friends' nips, and they're trying to pull your nips. So it's a war, you know.
It's a war.
It's a war, and it's only between guys, you know. I don't think girls go around pulling each other's nips. They take each other's barrettes and throw them on the ground or something. You know, something like that. I don't know, hair ties, flinging hair ties at each other.
Flinging hair ties at each other, sure. I guess we do that. Jimmy Gilbert.
I'm not a girl. I don't know.
How do you follow that?
I don't know. I should have left them for last.
That's what they used to say when we played. You know, the bands after the Leotards played, they were like, "We can't go on now."
Yeah, it's all down.
It is. It's all downhill after tea.
Thing is awful.
Where'd he go? There he is.
He's right there. So, Jimmy,
Yep.
how is the shutdown affecting your career directly?
I didn't pick up a camera for a month.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I just started this week again, shooting a few things out. You know, I think for me, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, but I think it's kind of making me a little depressed not to be in the crowd and not energy. So I'm kind of fighting a little bit of that, and Laura's helped me a lot there. I like watching the live streams, but it's not the same.
Exactly.
You know, in the beginning, the first week or two, it was great because I'm, you know, I only get to pick a couple shows now a week, and they tend to be bigger shows, so I miss a lot of the local artists. So the live streams, I was actually getting able to see people who I didn't see a lot, and going, "Holy my God, so much talent!" So I was watching like everybody's stream and going back and forth and I loved it, but it's just not the same. So you know, Herb is off here on the side and saying, you know, he's going to play my porch, really my patio. And it may just be Herb, Bonnie, Laura, and I, but I might just have them come play. And I put in a patio last year with granite from the Empire Plaza. And so it's got, the whole thing is granite from the Empire Plaza. We got a little fire pit in the middle, you know, and I wanted to have shows, a couple of shows out there this summer. And with COVID, like, I don't know.
Well, hopefully we'll get to that summertime something.
Maybe if I have Herb come out and play, we can get you out there and you can record it and live stream it. It'll be 5 of us out there. But
oh, wow.
we could socially distance.
We could.
But I miss the live music. My son's been playing a lot. I know Johnny said, you know, his career changed once you learn that F chord. Well, over COVID, over this thing, Ashton, my 16-year-old, got the F chord down. So
awesome.
That's the big thing in the house.
I don't know if he's watching, but Jason Irwin still can't play an F chord, and he says it all the time. Oh no, he says it all the time. I can't play an F chord.
And then Michael Eck was telling me I've got to get him to rap his thumb, and then he can play all these 70s tunes with the F chord and rap. But yeah, you know, we're doing what we can. With Nippertown, we're publishing, you know, sometimes live streams, sometimes reminiscing of theater. We had a recipe up there that people can try with their kids. So we're kind of diversifying Nippertown a little bit. But we're trying to keep things still relevant. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's work.
It's work.
Johnny.
Yeah.
You're there.
About 1 out of 4 words from you guys, but okay.
It's your turn.
We're obviously the Broken Hearted Petty tribute is on hold. We've we've had a gig canceled, and we're, the stuff that we had booked is it going to be on hold, indefinitely until we get the green light to get back to it. And that is very frustrating because things have been going well for us, and I hate to lose any momentum. But I think that when and if we can get back to it, people will be very enthusiastic about getting out to live shows, whatever form they take, even if they're, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to learn to adjust. I will say one thing, that during this break, I've gotten, I wrote a song. I don't write songs very often, so I wrote a song, and I put that out there. And I've been doing some petty acoustic shows that Stephanie, I did an original one too. So the one we did, when was that?
That was
Saturday?
the first week.
Right.
That was the first one.
Friday, right?
Yeah.
That was so much fun. And I just couldn't believe how happy I felt being able to perform again, even though I couldn't see anybody or hear them. I could see the comments, and that was so cool. And it really, it lifted my
Lifted his spirits, obviously, yeah.
made me feel like,
And that's the whole point of the
like
live streams.
and that one thing.
Are we losing him again?
It's cutting in and out a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're losing him again. Yep, we lost him.
That sucks.
We're running over anyway. I hate to keep you guys later than I said, but
Well, thanks for having us.
no,
Yeah.
it's great to
you
get
so
together.
much.
Again, it's about connection and staying connected to each other.
And now
And-
I know next time I see Brother T to protect my nipples.
Yes, oh yes. You have to cover them because he will go for them. He will cover them, or you got to cover them. And the
Can
other
I-
thing is, he's a serial hugger. He will come up and hug, and it won't let go. It's a bear hug, and he does not let go.
I'm okay
Well,
with hugging. I think it's, I think hugging in this scene it's funny because we do get some big guys. Like, I'm a big guy too, and I know you guys are. It's the first thing. If you haven't seen somebody in a little while, and a little while sometimes is a week, other times it's a couple months, you give them a big hug. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
He does it all the time. They wrote a song about him, his band, called Hugger.
Yeah.
That's all he does. Johnny, we were losing you. Sorry about that. But we'll have you.
Yeah, I took a little breather right there mid.
But we're running a little long, so we're gonna say goodbye for now. But we'll definitely all get back together again sometime soon.
Cool.
And
Next-
if people have
next
not
week I've got-
seen Johnny's tribute to
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty,
Yeah.
you've got to. It is so
This is
dead
great.
on. It is
Killer.
amazing.
And I don't know if you guys saw his Neil Young show that I shot, but he also does a really good Neil Young tribute too.
Nice.
So, thanks everybody. Really
Hey, thank
appreciate
you.
you being here,
Thank
and
you.
I will see some of you again very soon. And I'll see you.
Get at
all
me if you want to
afterwards.
go fishing, brother. We'll go.
We're there, man. We'll do it.
Thank you guys.
down
with it.
Great chatting with you.
I'll find
See
you
you
on
out there.
Facebook, man.
Definitely
You're
do,
welcome,
brother.
everybody. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you being
you
here.
so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you watching for all that time. Oh, we ran long. I'm so sorry about that. So anyway, next week we've got Matt LaFar and oh my goodness, who do I have next week? Matt LaFar and oh man, I can't even remember. There's an event out there, and Matt is hysterical. So I mean, we're gonna have another fun week. So if you would like to join us, it's going to be next Sunday, 7 o'clock, same time as this one, and hopefully we'll keep it to an hour. But yeah, we appreciate you guys being here, and thank you so much. Good night.